Hello, everybody, and welcome to your Microsoft Word. You are doing it wrong. That's okay. So is everyone else. I'm going to be your presenter. I'm Jesse, and I just wanted to say thank you for joining us today. I'm also working from home, like most of you, and I hope your families are doing well and staying healthy. With the outbreak, we are very concerned with everyone's health and well-being. Many of our classes have already moved online. At JN Software and CompuEase, we did want to mention that if anybody wants to, if you're taking training with us and you wanted to move it online, then you can certainly do so. Even before the outbreak, we had students across Canada join our public classes online. We have many of our clients take their private training with a mix of on-site and online. Um, and we're always going to be providing live trainers for any of these sessions as well. So I just wanted to give that little shout out just simply because we are of course, keeping in mind everybody's health and safety. And I'll repeat myself a little bit later on as well with some of our options for online training. But anyways, just to get us started here, I just wanted to introduce myself. So I'll just move over to our next slide. That's a little image of me, or at least a caricature of me. I am the newest member. I guess I'm not the newest member anymore of the CompuEase team, but I am one of the newest members of the CompuEase team. And definitely, I just wanted to point out what I love so much about this CompuEase team. And of course, my job in general is just watching all of the light bulbs go off as they realize how much time they are about to save at the office. So I always get those questions with Excel, with Word, with PowerPoint, whatever happens to be about efficiency. And for sure, there's a lot of stuff that you don't know that you don't know. And it's always gratifying to see people just their light bulbs always seem to go off as soon as they realize, oh my goodness, I'm not going to have to spend hours doing this. I can spend this doing this in 10 minutes. Just outside of work, I also love doing anything outdoors, so like camping, hiking, and of course sitting on the patio with a beer. But I digress. Let's go into a little bit about JN Software and CompuEase, the two companies, their sister companies that I work for. They do provide services throughout Canada. JN Software offers training, consulting, and database development Canada-wide, and CompuEase provides training for Ottawa and the National Capital Region. So specific to JN Software Consulting is training. We provide online public classes with live instructor. I just want to highlight the live instructor part. So everything is always live, never pre-recorded, and private online and on-site training. Consulting and database development for CompuEase specifically, on-site training at our downtown Ottawa training center, and private one-on-one training either on-site or online. And I do want to emphasize that we do go online as well. We have a lot of experience with that. All of our trainers are trained in online presentations and giving online training. But what we both offer is fast quality customer service. We have highly skilled, experienced professional trainers like yours truly, and public class schedule with guaranteed to run classes that run often. So again, highlighting the guaranteed to run portion. So even if there's one person in the class, what sets us apart from our competitors is that we do run everything, even if there's only one person in the class. We have a learn or come back free policy on all of our public classes. We do have 24/7 training support for all software training. So if you do forget something from the training, or you just need a little bit of extra kind of help when you get back to the office, we do have that 24/7 software training support here. We also have software and professional skills training. So both our software training, which is Excel, PowerPoint, that sort of thing, and a lot of other things other than Microsoft. But also on top of that, we do offer professional skills training, which includes things like your government briefing notes. We also do have making meetings work and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, give us a shout. Sorry, some person is having a problem. It's saying the meeting ID for call-in says it does not exist. If you just want to try that in, I'm just responding to V. Quinton. If you just want to try that one more time, but I'll just message our coordinator here to see if they can help you out. So just give me a second there. And sorry, guys, this is a live webinar, as you can tell. Quinton, issues. Alrighty, so just to introduce our topic here, we do have a lot of Microsoft Word tips and tricks that we're going to go through today. So I'm just going to cover things like the basics. So your show hide button. We're going to show you things like your page breaks, your section breaks, and stuff like that. We also have tabs. So why would you use them? I'll give you a quick example. And then, of course, how to use them and how to use your leaders with your tabs as well. Styles and themes are going to be critical for using Word, especially nowadays. So I'll show you how to use that and, of course, how that affects your table of contents that you've got as well. So that brings us to the next point, topic 4, the table of contents itself. So I'll show you how to insert that and how your styles kind of collaborate with that table of contents here. Lesson 5 is all about our tables. So the tables are going to be, as you've seen them before, I'm sure, but I just want to give you a couple of extra tips and tricks on how tables work, how to insert them, and that sort of thing. And finally, we'll go into list levels, which will cover all of our Microsoft webinar today. So with that, I'm actually just going to get started with our basics document. So let's go into that right now. We are going to go into topic 1, just our basics, and I just want to introduce the topic by showing the little backwards P thing that you see up here on your Microsoft Word document. Before I do, though, I just want to introduce this document itself because it's a lot easier to focus on the presentation when you actually understand what you're looking at. So when you take a look here, you can see it's O'Neill Coffee Roasters Marketing and Sales Plan. This is just something I came up with as an example. Don't worry, I didn't type all of it out and come up with it all myself. I did a lot of copying and pasting for the content here. But just so you understand what you're looking at, this is going to be kind of a nice generic example of some sort of a report that you might prepare for your superiors or to spread around your company and that sort of thing. So all of the examples that I'm going to be showing you today are going to be in this format, and we're just going to go through and use the report as our kind of jumping off point for a lot of these features. Okay. So the first part I wanted to show you here is that backwards P. If you've never seen it before, what that does is that actually enables all of our hidden characters, as you can see when I click on it. By the way, the shortcut is Control Shift and 8, or just Control asterisk is the same thing. So Control Shift and 8, you can see that will turn it on and off. So we do have a number of different symbols that you see on here. None of these symbols, I should mention, will be printed. So when you do look at those symbols, don't worry. Even if they're turned on, you're not going to print off those symbols. Those are just meant to show you your different paragraph flow and the way your words are going to flow throughout your document. So I just have a little bit of a PowerPoint document to show you in regards to this. So let me just switch to that. And you can see I just have an example at the very top of this document and some of the markers that you might be seeing below. So the first one is the backwards P. It is your paragraph marker. The reason why this one is so important is because a lot of your formatting options are going to be for an entire paragraph. So when you do see the paragraph markers, as you can see up here, just target market is its own paragraph, and then everything below that is a second paragraph as well. Okay. Your spaces are there. They're just little dots, and they're pretty well just useful to notice if you've got any extra spaces in your document. You've got your tab marker. You can see at the very top in my example, there's a little tab at the very beginning, sorry. And then we also have our end cell or end row marker. So you can see that on my document in my table, just denoting where the cell is ending. You do have a keep square, so this keep square might mean different things depending on what it's being applied to. In this particular example, this keep square is going to denote that the title will be kept with the rest of the paragraph. All of those options, by the way, are underneath your paragraph options. So anytime you see that keep symbol, it just means that there's some type of keep rule that's been applied to that paragraph. And finally, the last one that you're seeing here is your line break. So the line break is going to be very similar to your paragraph breaks, except for it keeps the next line as a part of the first paragraph. So you can see here that I have the little downwards arrow just denoting that I do have a line break, which means that this paragraph that you're seeing here and the table below it is all considered to be one paragraph, meaning that any formatting for an entire paragraph will go across the entire one. On my next page here, you can see that I do have a bunch of breaks as well. So you'll notice those when you do turn on your document. The page breaks are the most simple ones. You can see there's a page break at the very top here. It just means that anything below that page break is going to appear on a separate page, so all of the content below it. Your section breaks as a whole are all about your formatting. So there are different types of formatting here that will all be applied to just one document. So when you do separate it by section, there are different types of formatting that will kind of split as if it's kind of like a document within a document. So just an example over here, as you can see at the very top, I have a section break, and then you've got two different columns here. So this way, what I could have is a single column document at the very top, a single column document at the very bottom, and then two columns within this section that you've got there. But it's not just used for that. You can also use your sections there for things like your headers and your footers. So that is how people do alternate the headers and footers in the same document, is because they've got different sections within that document. I should note, I did forget to mention this before I got started, is that if you do have questions, feel free to type them out in the chat box in the Ring Central meeting that you're attending right now. If you do type them out, I will likely not get to it until the very end of the presentation, unless it's something urgent, then I'll message our administrator to help me out. But aside from that, if you just want to just type in your questions so that they can gather throughout the presentation, then feel free to do that. So as you're seeing here, you've got different sections. So you've got a continuous section, meaning that the whole section will appear, the content below that section will appear on the same page as the section above it. Your section that says next page will put in a new section, but it will also put in a page break, meaning you can see down here, I've got a section break next page, meaning any content below the section break will appear on the next page. The even and the odd page, those are specific formatting, usually for people writing a novel, because you can kind of visualize when you're reading a novel how normally the paragraphs, or sorry, the chapters of a novel appear always on an even page or always on an odd page. So normally those section breaks are just used for novels. And then the final one here being the column break, as you can see here at the very bottom, I've noted where my column needs to be split up by using that column break. And so my marketing strategy information is in the first column, and the sales strategy is in the second column there. And just to answer the question there from KIMP, it was a question that I think applies to everybody as I'm going through. So I should just mention it right now. Yes, I will be providing these. Well, I won't be providing the slides themselves, but I will be providing the entire presentation to the meeting participants so that you can go through it. I only actually have the 2 slides, so it wouldn't be very useful to send you everything, but I will send you the entire presentation. Well, at least my team will. we'll upload it to YouTube so you can definitely, and send you the link so you can definitely watch it later. All right, so just applying all of those to my current page that I have right now, my current example. Topic 1, the basics. As you can see here, I've got my market analysis section. You can see the header is market analysis. And then as I scroll down, you're seeing some more markers, and you can see there's a section break down there. And then my section break that went to the next page went to our next section called Our Brand. And you can see I've switched up the headers for that section so that it is now called Our Brand. So just examples of things that you can do with your different sections. You could definitely switch up your headers and that sort of thing with those sections. Okay. So I am going to switch to our next topic, which is going to be using our tabs. But just as I'm moving to that next document, closing this one down, I just wanted to mention that we always run our classes as we're going through. So I just wanted to give that little anecdote, which means that even if we've only got one person running or in the class, we are still going to run your class. Oops, sorry, that was not the right document. Of course, this is live, so mistakes happen there. As you can see here, I've got my next document. Let me just take off my show hide button for now so it's not confusing. And just a reminder, I am going through all the questions afterwards, after the presentation. So just hang tight for all of those of you that are asking questions during the presentation. I am just going to leave that sit there for a little bit. So I'm not ignoring you. I'm definitely just letting that sit until the end of the presentation when I'm doing all of the questions. All right, so our tabs are going to be used for things like alignment. For us to be able to use the tabs, you can see, and you should get familiar with your ruler at the very top, because the ruler is going to show you your approximate centimeters. Well, we're in Canada, so it's all done in centimeters. Of course, if you do switch over to an American keyboard, it might show you inches as well, or sorry, an American operating system. You might see inches up here as well. But right now, that's showing you your centimeters across the page. All of your tabs are going to be found underneath your paragraph options, and what they're going to be used for is just to align things on the page. So I'm down here in the buying cycle section here, and you can see I've got something that's kind of sort of like a table that I would like to apply, but it's going to be a little bit easier to read if it's not really a table. So in this particular case, you might want to use your tabs in order to create some alignment. So you're not really having to use a table, but it's going to align it properly on the page. So just going through that, I'm just going to go through my paragraph settings. So that would be on your home tab at the very top of Word. In case you're not necessarily understanding why things look a little bit different on my screen than you do have with your Word, so all these buttons look a little bit updated and that sort of thing, it's just because I've got the most up-to-date Word. I've got Office 365 on my computer. The options are all going to be still in the same places for you when you get back to your computer. It'll just, maybe the buttons won't look as up-to-date or anything like that, but the same options will apply. So just going into those paragraph options here, I'm going to click on that little down arrow. You have a bunch of different paragraph options here, and one of them at the very bottom is called tabs. So one thing to mention about tabs, and I might have actually forgotten to do this myself, is that they are specific to a paragraph. So you do have to understand where your paragraph ends. So I'm just actually going to close that off real quick and go back into it. So I'm just going to have to click on my Show Hide button here, and you can see my paragraph. This one ends here, this paragraph ends here, and this paragraph ends here. So I'm just going to highlight the paragraph that I want to add that tabs. Simply placing your cursor there would do the same thing. Click on the down arrow, clicking on tabs, and you can see that by default, each tab that you do hit will move your text forward to 1.27 centimeters. Okay, so that's the default tab stops that you see here. So every tab you hit will always move it forward by 1.27 centimeters by default, but you can actually add a tab stop position. So what I can do here is I can just put in, for example, 8, and then hit set, and you can see I've now got a tab stop at 8 centimeters. In terms of my alignment here, so just understanding how that works, you do have a bunch of different alignments. So the first one, the left alignment, is going to be it'll stop at the 8 centimeter marker, and then it will show all of the text to the right of that 8 centimeter marker. The right alignment is the exact opposite, so it's just going to be right aligned along that marker, or center aligned. The two bottom one here is called decimal and bar. You'll see that's just going to allow you to put in a decimal at the exact 8 centimeter stop, so that it just kind of gives a little break in your paragraph. And the same thing with the bar. It'll just give a bar at the 8 centimeter stop. In terms of your leaders, the leaders are going to be the old school way of making something like a table of contents if you were going to make one manually. Nowadays, I'll show you how to make one automatically, so you don't need to use them too much. But what's going to happen with the leaders is, depending on which leader you choose, you can see there's a dot one here, there's a dash, and there's also just an underscore. All of those would just have the dash, the dot, or the underscore all the way up until your tabs stop. So I won't necessarily need it for this particular paragraph, but just to explain it, when I did hit tab right before the 2018, there would be either a dash, a dot, or an underscore that would go all the way up to the 8 centimeter stop where I'm putting my cursor here, and it would stop that dash, that dot, or that underscore at that point. It's not very often used. It's only really used if you are creating a manual table of contents or something like a glossary, but there's a lot of automated tools in Word nowadays that you can use that you don't necessarily need to use that feature. Anyways, I am going to use an 8 centimeter stop. I am going to use an 11 centimeter stop as well. And I'm just going to hit OK. And you will notice up at the very top, you get this little thing. It's a bit small to see on the screen right now, but there's an L at 8, and there's also an L at 11. So you'll see that when I put my cursor before 2018 and hit tab, you can see there's a tab marker there, and one tab brought it all the way up to that 8 centimeter stop. And then if I put a second tab in, so I'll put one between 2018 and 2019, the second one will end up at 11 centimeters. And we're just going to do that to kind of use the alignment for the next two paragraphs here as well. So I'm just going to highlight both of them at the same time. We'll go through the exact same process. And then I'll hit the down arrow, go into my tabs, and I'm going to just put in 8 and set, and 11 and set, and click on OK. And now these two next paragraphs will also have the 8 and the 11 tabs. So that's just a very basic overview of your tabs that you have in your document. In terms of removing the tabs, I should say, there's a couple of ways of doing it. You can go back into your paragraph options. The rulers are also dynamic, so you can actually click on these tabs and move them. Or if you just click and kind of drag it out, it will delete the tabs as well. So you can use that as a drag and drop feature, or you can go into your paragraph tabs, and then you've got an option to click on something and hit clear, or just simply click on clear all to get rid of those tabs. Alrighty, so we are going to go to my my third topic here, which is styles and themes. For that, I'm going to use a separate document. But just as I am going over to my third topic, and I'm closing this down, I won't save that. I just wanted to mention that our what we have in terms of our kind of 24/7 support afterwards. What I'm referring to by that is you get this little voucher, and the voucher is actually going to allow you to call an office support group, so that if you're like me and you have your questions, that they pop up like 5 minutes after the training is done. You're in the elevator, or maybe you get back to home, and you're like, oh man, I just wonder how to apply this certain feature that I learned. Well, then you do get that little voucher for the 24/7 support, and you can certainly give us a call. We'll give the voucher a call, the number on the voucher a call, and so that you can actually ask those questions and have them answered right there on the spot, so you don't have to, go searching on Google or anything like that. Okay. So moving on to our next topic, which is our themes, our styles, and the fourth topic as well is going to be our table of contents, which just happened to really nicely fit into this document at the same spot. I just want to introduce your themes by letting you know that a lot of the documents that you're seeing so far, and all of the styles, as you can see here, let me just take off that show hide button, sorry. The styles that you're seeing here are all templated styles. They're all coming from Microsoft. So all of those are going to be found underneath your Design tab. And as you can see, you have your themes on the left-hand side, and you also have what's called your style sets in the middle here that you can use. So the first thing you want to do is you do want to choose your theme whenever you're starting out your document. You can choose whichever theme you like. So you can just see by highlighting or hovering rather over top of those themes, that when I do hover over, it changes everything on the page all at once. Whichever theme I choose will affect all of my headings, all of my titles, and that sort of thing. And then you also have your style sets that you see here. And you can use these style sets, as I'm hovering over them, to kind of be like a variant of the theme as well. So the style sets and the themes are just going to set up the document in terms of your colors, your background colors, and that sort of thing. All of the stuff that those themes and your style sets are going to affect are over here on the right-hand side. So if you like most of a theme, but you don't like, let's say, the fonts of that theme. So I could choose, for example, the gallery theme here, which has a lot of red in it, but I don't necessarily like the fonts. I could actually go down to the fonts and change the fonts to something different. Maybe I want it to be Calibri. Oh, where did all my styles go? There we go. And that's going to change my font scheme on that theme. So I like the theme. I like 90% of the theme, but I don't like the fonts on it, so I can change that. You also have your colors, paragraph spacing. Effects are mostly for graphical objects, such as your shapes or your charts or things like that. So you can change those around as you wish. Once you've done that, because you changed the fonts or the paragraph spacing or the colors, it's no longer the same theme as what you originally chose. It's a new theme. So what you can do is you can come down here and click on Save Current Theme. It's going to give you a very default location that you see up at the very top. Keep that location the same. It's really important that you do that, because when you are opening up a new document, you can actually use the theme that you've customized now. So anything local on your computer, anytime you open up Word, this new theme that you've created has been saved in this location. That's how Word knows how to pull it. So I'm just going to call this one Funky Theme and click on Save. And now, once I click on Themes once more, you can see there's a section up at the very top called Custom. That theme, that funky theme, will be available for all of my documents so that I can apply this across many documents that I have. Okay. Now, your style sets are a little bit different than themes. They're just going to affect how the different styles look. And again, you can go through and choose whichever one best suits you, whatever you think is the best. But once you're done applying those style sets, you'll notice on the Home tab, all of the styles that you have will change by default. So the ones that I am going to be mentioning today, you do have a lot of different styles here. Most of them are just a set of formatting. So the normal style, the spacing, the no spacing style, the title, the subtitle, that sort of thing. Most of those are just to do with your formatting. Now, a couple of them, they are going to apply to the table of contents that you're going to be using. So the table of contents, when we do add it, that's going to correspond with your different headings. The reason being is your headings have what we call different paragraph levels applied to them. So you can see when I click on modify on this heading 1, down here is all of the stuff that's been applied to that style. And one of them, as you can see, if I just highlight over it here, is called level 1. So what that refers to is just going to be the level within the table of contents. A lot of other things as well, but in this example specifically, we're going to be using the table of contents as our context for these levels. So that's going to be the indent level on your table of contents. So to apply the styles, it's just as simple as selecting what you would like to apply. So in this case, we're going to apply heading 1 to market analysis. We're going to apply heading 2 to introduction and goals, and heading 2 as well to competitive analysis. And let's just make sure that I haven't missed anything. And no, I haven't. The rest of my styles are applied across this document. Okay. The nice thing as well with styles is that if you do decide to change one manually, so you know how to, since we went through the design tab, you know how to change them all automatically just by changing your style set. But you can also change your styles within the style set manually. And just how I would do that is, again, by going to the modify menu that I showed you. What's nice about that is that when you do change your styles, it's going to change everything where the style was applied automatically. So anything with the heading 1 will automatically update if you're using styles. So I'm going to right click on my heading 1, hit modify, and for the most part, you're just going to be playing around with the formatting in here that you've got. Again, for the most part, there are some situations where you would want to go a little bit more deep. So you can go into your format and you can choose whatever you would like to choose in terms of formatting at the very bottom. For the scope of this particular presentation, we're not going to go through that, but I will mention that when we are doing our in-class stuff, I do go into a lot more detail with the styles and in terms of how you can modify them and that sort of thing. Myself and all of my training colleagues, of course. So definitely, if you are in class, you'll get a little bit more information on the styles and how to modify them a little bit better. Alrighty. Now, just moving on to that next topic that I've got, which is your table of contents. So I'm just going to give myself a little bit of space at the very beginning here. So I'll just hit enter once to move that down. One thing to mention about that is you notice how the style is still chosen. So I had my mouse clicked over here. Then when I had it or entered carriage return or an enter key, what that ended up doing is it still moved it down, but you still have the style applied above it. So I'm going to just change it to normal, making sure that I don't affect any of the formatting of my table of contents. With the table of contents, they're all underneath your references tab here. So if you click on references and then you click on the table of contents button, you will notice that you do have automatic tables and manual tables. So you can see here the manual tables are there if you would like to type things out manually. But for the most part, you want to control your table of contents by using styles. I did mention, as you can see, heading 1s, heading 2s, heading 3s. Anything below a heading 3 won't show up in the table of contents. So I'll click on that. And just as a rule of thumb, I also like to put in a page break below that table of contents, just so that we don't start it on the same page. So your page breaks that you're seeing, and this might answer one of the questions as well, is all underneath your Layout tab. And you can see there's an option for breaks, and you got page, column, text wrapping. So all of those page breaks and the section breaks that I was mentioning in that first lesson that we've got, they're all underneath layout breaks, and then you can see you've got next page, continuous, even, and odd page. And then we've also got the column break here for the 2 columns. But anyways, I digress, because what I really came here for was the page break. So I'm going to put that in. I'm also going to use another piece of my first lesson. I'm going to turn on my paragraph markers. And as you can see, just by nature of adding in that page break, there's a couple of extra markers here. The ones above I'm not too worried about, but this one here, I want to get rid of. So I'll hit delete on my keyboard. One other thing to mention with the styles as well that I forgot to mention is the styles will allow you to collapse things really quickly. So if I click on the little twisty next to that style, it's a little triangle looking thing, you'll see that I can actually collapse everything below that style. Okay, so that would go up to the next thing, whatever was noted as heading 1, or the next section, whatever comes first. And as you can see, you've got your table of contents. We also did just move things down, right? We added this page break. So the market analysis might not start on page 1 anymore. So let's go into our table of contents, and I'm going to actually click on it. And there's a button once you do click on that table of contents called Update Table. So I'll click on that, and you can either choose to update the entire table, so all of your titles, or just the page numbers. The option is, excuse me, one sec. Sorry about that. Need some water. The option is there just in case you do want to change the titles and the page numbers separately, mostly because the entire table is going to take a little bit more time in very large documents. So sometimes you just want to do the page numbers, which will take less time. And there we go. You might be a little bit confused as to why this is saying 1 down here. The reason for that is just simply because we did restart. You'll see when I go down to our brand. I'm just going to click on Control on my keyboard and then click on Our Brand just to explain that. And you can see here I actually had some formatting applied prior to this presentation for the header, and that started it at page 1. There is a section break down here called Next Page Section Break. So that's why it started off on page 1. So your table of contents will also take through your section formatting as well. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You may or may not want that section formatting depending on what you're doing with table of contents. Alrighty, and that pretty well ends off my my third and fourth topic. I'm just going to move on to my 5th topic real quickly because I do realize I'm starting to run into time, but that's okay. We'll continue on. We'll go over to the tables next, and just as I'm going over to the tables, I just did want to mention that our trainers are there to make sure that you get the knowledge you need, which means that when you're in your live classes, we're going to be up the front. We're experts on these materials, and even if we don't know absolutely everything, which I can guarantee you I don't know everything to do with these applications, then we definitely go and we make sure to look things up on lunches, on breaks, and that sort of thing. So you always get the question, or so you always get your questions answered, no matter what, as you're going through. So come prepared to our training session with a bunch of questions because we'll be able to help you out no matter what. All right, moving on to the tables. I've got a section down here. Oh, I've actually already got the tables in there. So the tables, I just wanted to explain the tables just really quickly. So they're all found underneath the Insert tab and Tables. And just to insert a table, sorry, it's not letting me because I got to go to another paragraph. There we go. Just within that table, you can see that you can insert your table this way. It's pretty straightforward, and it's going to create a table with the amount of rows and columns. Just look at the very bottom of my screen to see the table that's automatically updating based on my selection here. All right. You can also choose an Excel spreadsheet, again, and the quick tables, which are both kind of outside of the scope of this, but they're both part of the lesson or level 1. So if you are interested in in learning a little bit more about tables, then feel free to, or please do actually, attend my level 1 Word class here. Alrighty, the other thing that you're noticing, and I'm just going to switch out of the show hide button, is that I've got a couple of different styles that are applied to this table automatically. So you will notice at the very top that I don't have any table options right now. But as soon as I click into the table, you'll see that table tools will appear at the very top. And you've got 2 options here. You've got your design, and you've also got your layout. So on the left-hand side of your design, you have all of your options. If you've got a header row, if you've got a first column, last column, it's going to highlight those aspects of the table by using those check marks. You've also got a bunch of styles. So if you don't like this yellow style, you can actually change it. Maybe I want it in something blue, or maybe just a blue outline. Just like that. If you do want to shade, your shade's over here. So I can select the entire table by clicking on the little 4-headed arrow up at the top, go into my shading, and just choose whatever shading suits me best. And if you do want to put in borders, you also have borders on the right-hand side here. So you've got your styles. Maybe I just want to put in a border that's a bit of a darker blue and a little bit thick. And then you can add in your the thickness of it, and then you can choose which borders to add with that style and that thickness. So I'm going to go to all borders and add that in, just making this table pop a little bit on my page. In terms of the layout, most of the time people tend to add or remove different rows using the right click, and that's definitely a good way to go. So you've got your insert, left, right, above, or below, and you've also got split cells and delete cells. All of those options are found on the mini toolbar as well, so above, below, left, right. But once you go to your layout, you can also see you've got above, below, left, right here, and you've got split. You've got a split table. In terms of your fitting, you can see you've got your auto fit, which will auto fit to contents, which theoretically, if I had less contents, would fit it a little bit smaller. Oops. But you've also got auto fit window, which is just going to fit the entire table across the window. You've got your row distribution and column distribution. Oops. Just like that. So it's automatically going to adjust your text. All of your alignment options over here. And the last one that I like to show, I mean, right now I don't have any headers, but you can see there's an option up here called repeat header rows, and you would just click on that option in order to put in header rows on every page. If your table happened to span across multiple pages, that's what you go to put your headers on every new page. Okay, so that pretty well completes my 5th topic, and the last one just being your different list levels. So I'm just going to close out of here, and we'll just go quickly into the list levels. Oh, close that one as well. And the list levels, let me just open that up, are going to be on the very final page of this document. And you can see I've got a section here in my marketing plan for my product offerings. So what I can do is I can just add in a numbered or bulleted list, which I'm sure everybody's done before in Word, if you're comfortable with Word. Some people don't necessarily use Word, but if you have used it, you've probably used this numbered or bulleted lists. What I did want to mention about that is just to move the different levels, just to see how the levels are going to react. You can click on that little down arrow, And you can see here there's an option to change your list level. So the second list level is going to be alphabetic. The third one will be Roman numerals, and then it will repeat itself for the fourth, fifth, and sixth, and so on. So that's going to allow you to change your different list levels and the way that they appear. You can also use this as well to just choose a different type of list. So if I wanted to, instead of number it, I wanted to put in letters, I can change it by clicking on that. Here we go. I'm just going to start moving out my list levels just to give you a sample here. So just by selecting what I want to select and either hitting tab, or there's an indent button up at the very top to increase or decrease the indent there. What's excellent about this is I get to actually teach you about coffee at the same time that I'm teaching about Word. I do this a lot in my classes too. Anyways, so as you can see here, we do have the 3 list levels. You can change the numbering, so you can actually click on a given list level, and then you can change the new number, set the new numbering value or format. And as you can see here, I can change it to Roman numerals for the second one here. Click on OK, and you can see it's changed that list level to Roman numerals. And then maybe the third one, you want numbers. So I can click in here, define new number format, and then change this to numbers. But you've also got your font options, you've got alignment options, and you've got a little preview that's showing there. The very last option that I want to show you to do with your list levels is going to be the very last is going to be your numbering. So you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3 down here, and I want 4, 5, 6. So what I can do is I can go into set numbering value, and we can continue it from the previous list. And then click on OK. Oh, didn't continue. So if it's being finicky, which it does happen sometimes, you can just go in and manually change it to set to the new value. So let's just make sure I'm in the right paragraph there. Set numbering value, and let's just change it to 4 here. And every once in a while, Word does get finicky on you, just like that. So as you can see here, we've just manually changed the numbering values there. Okay. So that just about wraps up the content. I am going to go into questions, so I'll just wait for some people to type out the questions. But just before I get started with that, I just wanted to show a couple of things. So with the questions, please do start typing them out. I'm just going to put on my last slide here to show you that. So in terms of contacting us, if you have any questions about our custom training, about our public training, whatever type of training, especially right now during uncertain times, feel free to give us a call or an email. So Ottawa and Quebec is training@compuease.ca. And across Canada is info@jnsoftware.ca, and we have 2 separate numbers, as you can see there as well. So you can give us a call. So I'm just going to go into just a little bit of our services that we offer. So you can see here we have our website. So compuease.ca is going to bring you to that website. We do have computer training, professional skills training that we do offer, and you've got a full list. You can see there's quite a few different courses that we have there. Up at the very top, you also have our contact information and maybe some other free stuff that you can utilize. So a blog, all of our webinars you can find underneath that link. And we also do have a YouTube channel with a lot of really well put together how-to videos or tips and tricks. So as you can see here, the first page I'm going to show you here is going to be our different types of training. We've got public, we've got private group training sessions. So we come to you, or you just bring your whole team to our office, and one-on-one or custom training. So you can definitely customize what you want in terms of your training, what you need. So you can bring your own files even, and that sort of thing. So take a look at our schedule. We have a lot coming up, a lot that's happening in April. I'm only showing April on this one page, but we also have some other public classes happening at the end of March. So you can definitely take a look at our schedule, including Word level 1, 2, and 3. So you can see that we've got other things in our Word. A lot of the stuff I talked to you about today in terms of our formatting and paragraphs and our styles, that's going to be in Lesson 3, but we go in a lot more detail about it, or Section 3. For our level 2, we also have things like securing a document, so adding passwords and that sort of thing. Controlling our text flow is a big one for me because it allows me to understand why paragraphs are moving to other pages if they happen to. Sometimes people get frustrated with that, and I know I used to. And then our level 3, things like our collaboration on documents, and using our macros, so actually getting to do things that are repeatable in Word and that sort of thing. Okay. Now, JN Software offers a lot of the same things, but I just wanted to start with their website. You can see that it looks fairly similar up at the very top. So you can feel free to use their website to find the webinars, the blog information, and their LinkedIn or social media accounts. We have other webinars coming up that you can feel free to sign up for. So this is the one that's happening today, Microsoft Word. So if you click on the blog information, that's going to pop up this website page. And you can see the next one coming up is going to be using OneDrive to collaborate in real time. And then we also have some others like 365, Office 365, and using Teams as well coming up. And finally, just take a look at our blog. So I can tell you that there's a lot of very excellent blog articles in terms of how you can use your software, but also just some news. You can see we've got some news at the very top on how we're offering virtual training. One of the blog articles that is coming out this week, actually, which is why I've got this Word document out, is going to be about your Microsoft Word features. So if you did like today's presentation, then you can definitely take a look at the blog article that's coming out this week, because it's going to give you a bit more information about that. Okay. And finally, once you do go to the YouTube channel, as you can see, well, that's my face. There's a lot of different videos here, but not all of them are my face. You can go to your different playlists, and you can see there's the Word tips, the Outlook tips, the video tips, Visio tips, project tips, and that sort of thing that were mostly designed by ours truly, which is Christine. She's an excellent trainer that works here in Ottawa. Yeah. So just moving on to some of those questions that we have. So I'm just going to scroll up to the top. So just to reiterate, by the way, just about the COVID-19 stuff going on. As mentioned at the beginning, many people are using their time at home to do online training. I wanted to mention our training is always with a live person. It's never pre-recorded, whether you take one-on-one or training session or a group in a conference room, it's always going to be with the live instructor like myself. So we do use Zoom or Ring Central, which you're using right now, but we can also use other products like Teams. We can also use GoToMeeting or WebEx, so it's completely customizable to whatever the client needs in terms of virtual training. Again, I just wanted to point that out just simply because we are in uncertain times at this moment. So you can definitely customize your training session, but you can always customize your training session, right? You can include your own files and that sort of thing in your custom training sessions. So on to the first question that we've got here. How do you do tab leaders without the dialog box? I think you mentioned a keyboard shortcut. I love shortcuts. Okay, perfect. So yes, so this answer goes out to Carol. Let me just open up my using tabs document here. And you're asking about shortcuts for tabs. As you can see, this is how it started beforehand. Your tabs are all along the left-hand side here. So depending on which tab you want to use, what you can do is you can just click through these different types of tabs up at the very left. They're kind of small to see on my screen, I know. But if you just hover over them, they're going to give you which type of tab it is. And then what you can do is you can double click on your ruler, And it's going to bring up some tab options, of course, but you can see it automatically put in that 8 centimeter stop for the tabs. So now with this paragraph that you had selected, it's done that formatting that we wanted to. So I'm going to double click here on the 11. Oops. And you can see that it brought up the 11th, and then you can use your tab here. If you select more than one paragraph, it's going to do the same thing. So you can see those tab L's went away because I'm on a different paragraph, but I can just click up in here. Oh, single click. I misled you. Sorry about that. Not double click. Single click will do that without bringing up the tab dialog box. So that is one of the little shortcuts instead of going through that paragraph options there. Sometimes my styles don't update after I modify. I'm not sure why. Okay, so it is possible that you have more than one style set. This is going out to Maura. It is possible that you have more than one style set on your document. This is just kind of a out of the blue because I'm not really looking at your document at this moment. But what I might guess might be happening, if you click on the little down arrow next to the styles, you see in the styles dialog box, there's a little down arrow right next to it. And you can see that brings up all of your styles here. It is possible that you have more than one heading style in this list. The list that you're seeing up at the very top, you can see is the same list. It has the same styles, but it's a bit shortened. So it doesn't have everything. So just make sure that you're modifying the correct styles. If ever you are unsure as to what style is being applied, what you can do is you can just click into the paragraph where that style exists and then take a look on the right-hand side. That's going to show you which style you've got applied. I hope that answered your question, Maura. So I do have a question about some shortcuts to get access to different options from Didim. So for the, I'm sorry if I pronounced your your name wrong. I'm trying my best. So you're going to be just using in Word. There's not a lot, but the ones that I tend to use with your shortcut keys are going to be things like selecting. So selecting, if I'm just using my cursor to move around, you can see it just moves around. But if you want to hit Shift on your keyboard to select, or maybe Control is going to go across an entire word, and then Control Shift will do the same thing to select, or Shift down will select everything below it. So you can just use your combination of Control and Shift, Control being for maneuvering and Shift being selected. And if you use them with one another, you can select things. Yeah, again, with Word, there's not a lot of different shortcuts. I'd have to hear a little bit more about what you would want specifically to add a shortcut to. The other thing is in my level 3, we go through macros, and you can actually add in shortcut keys to specific actions that you do. But one thing I do want to point out for you, Didim, was just the quick access toolbar at the very top. So even though there's not a lot of shortcuts that we have in terms of using our keyboard, maybe there's some I'm not thinking of, but anyways, you can use this quick access toolbar. So if you just click on the little eject looking button there, you can see there's a lot of different commands that you can add to that quick access toolbar. And you can actually go into the section here that says more commands. And let's just say you do a lot of numbering. So you can see on the left-hand side, this is a list of everything that you have in terms of your commands. You can go from popular commands to all commands. Once that changes, there we go. You can see that there's a million different commands that you can choose from. So there's a lot there. But let's go with my original scenario here where I do a lot of bullets. So I'll click on bullets, I'll click on add, and click on OK. And you'll notice that my bullets will be up there in my quick access toolbar. Very simple example, but you can add any command within Word. And then what I can do is I can click on the little eject button once more, click on show below the ribbon, and now you don't even have to go to the top of your page to add these types of shortcuts in. So you can just use your mouse to click on those shortcuts and they'll work for you. Okay, so now I can just select what I want, click on the bullets, and you can see it added in bullets there for me. From Julie, I have, how do I change a footer to its unique page number? Oh, that one's that one takes a little bit of time to explain, Julie. But yeah, for sure. Let me just go through. So I just wanted to explain first. I'll at least do this in theory, just simply because we don't have enough time to go through step by step. But I just want to explain first what we're doing with the different sections. So as you can see here, I've got something called a title up at the very top. I didn't necessarily do anything with that title. That is just straight formatting. So the section, even though we've called it market analysis, this section is not related to the title at all. I've just used that as some sort of formatting to let the person reading know that we're in this section. Okay, so I just didn't want you to mistakenly think that that was part of the formatting that we have. So then you have to add in your different sections that we've got. So again, just going back to our layout, you can see there's breaks, and you've got options for either continuous sections or next page sections. You would add those in. So if I just toggle on my, did I add another one in here? Yeah, so I've got a section break up at the very top, meaning that my header page is different from the rest of the sections. And then I've also got a section break here. So this is underneath market analysis, starting the Our Brand section. And then I've got a final section break. You can see down here, finishing Our Brand, and it starts with strategy. Once you have those section breaks in, and I'm sorry I'm scrolling so much, I know that's a little bit of a pain on the eyes, but once you have those section breaks in, then it's all about your options for your headers and your footers. So headers and footers are going to work the exact same way. So I know your question is about footers, but you can use these steps. I've got mine applied to the headers instead. So if I just double click into that header, you can see that you have a number of different options that show up underneath your design tab. That design tab goes away when you're not clicked into the header. So just keep that in mind. You'll only see that design tab when you do click into the header, so you have to double click to make that work. And then we've got our market analysis section. You can see the options are up at the very top called link to previous. So you have to make sure that that is turned off, especially on your second section that we have down here for Our Brand. You can see I can click on Our Brand, and you can see the link to previous option is turned off. That link to previous is going to be how you know if your numbering and your naming conventions are going to be linked to the other sections. So you got to make sure that that's turned off. If it is turned on, you'll see a little thing up here called same as previous. Now this is for the footer, but in my header, I don't have anything in here that says same as previous. Okay, so that's how you'll know if it's turned on or turned off. Your other options in terms of your headers and footers are up here: different first page, different odd and even page, and show document text. So right now on the first one, my first header, Our Brand doesn't have a different first page. And let's just see, our market analysis also doesn't have a different first page. In terms of the numbering, all I did to add in the market analysis one, I actually added in just a pre-done header, a pre-done page number header. So I clicked on page numbers up here. I selected the top of page, and I actually just use this accent bar 2 option. And I don't know, it's really small, so you probably can't see it on your screen, but it actually says page, and then there's a bar, and then it says 1. So I just used that, and I just typed over top of the word page, and I just typed in market analysis instead of page. Okay, so that way I kept all the formatting, just changed the name from page to market analysis. It looks nice. I kind of like it. All righty. So I hope that answers your question, Julie. So I am around for more questions. Actually, you know what? That is 104. Julie, just for your information, even the questions are going to be posted in the webinar video. So everything I'm doing right now is being recorded. So you can follow along with the webinar video when it gets posted, probably either later on today or tomorrow. All right, so that actually brings us to the end of time. That so far has been my longest presentation. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining. And just make sure that if you do have any questions, that you do contact us. And if you have questions about training, online training, whatever happens, you can definitely ask us about that, so you can actually enjoy your training from the comfort of your own home if you want, just using the same tools as what we've used today. Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody.